Her Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate Cry is an 8-week Zoom seminar in which Kamala and Winston help women to start living their best life by rediscovering the image of God in their life. Kamala, a licensed marriage and family therapist, joins her husband of 16 years, an ordained pastor, to marry the clinical and the spiritual. You will begin living your best life filled with love, joy, and peace. Register at kwministries.net for this life-changing seminar.
So if we're being honest, and I'm hoping we are, we have started by being honest and vulnerable ourselves.
Yes.
And that's kind of the point. If we're honest, all we want to do is be in control.
Yes.
That's all we want. We want to control our relationships. We want to control the outcome of things. We want to know what's coming next. We always want to be in control. The trouble with being in control and having a relationship with God is that the two don't go together. I can't be in control and you can't be in control at the same time.
That's right.
You ever done a tug of war? If we're both pulling, somebody has to win.
Yeah.
Somebody does.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about God is that he gives us choice.
Yeah.
So if I want to pull in my direction, he's going to let me.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to be free of the consequences of my direction? No. But he's going to let me.
Mm-hmm.
So I want for us to pause and really think about how many ways am I trying to control people and situations in my life that I have no business trying to control.
But let me ask you a question. Where does this obsession with control come from? Why are we so obsessed with being in control?
Because we're afraid.
Because we're motivated by those three demons.
Fear.
Fear.
Shame.
Shame.
And guilt.
And guilt. God is patient. God is kind. God is long-suffering. God never fails. God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God doesn't envy. God doesn't boast. God doesn't seek his own, but is always seeking what's best for you. God rejoices in the truth.
That's right.
God doesn't define love. God demonstrates love. Good evening and welcome to Monday Night Live, because if it's Monday night, you are live with
KW.
And Jay.
There he is. How are you all doing?
Wonderful.
Good stuff. Good stuff. It's Monday.
It is.
What are you celebrating tonight?
I am celebrating that we are back together as a team tonight. I tell you, this KWJ sandwich was real lean last week.
It was a good discussion. It was a great discussion last.
It was. But I missed my people, so I am celebrating you.
He
guys
didn't miss
today.
us. He was on a cruise.
Listen.
Well, I had just gotten back. So I was still trying to recover.
You were back last Monday night? No.
Yeah,
No. I thought you got back. Okay.
maybe no.
Uh-uh.
No, yeah, it was like I got back last Sunday, the 24th.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but
But what are you celebrating?
I'm just celebrating life. On the cruise, I got a chance to spend time with our youngest miracle grandbaby, Jackson,
Nice.
who was born at 22 weeks gestation. So it's definitely a miracle baby after many surgeries, after many months in the NICU. He is flourishing as a 4-year-old thriving young man. So I am celebrating my grandson, Jackson Hester.
I'm
All
celebrating
right.
with you. I'm celebrating with you.
What are you celebrating, sir?
I'm going to tell you what I'm celebrating, and you're not going to believe me. I'm celebrating my diabetes diagnosis.
Tell them why.
I'm celebrating my type 2 diabetes diagnosis because, one, I have never felt more healthy in my life. My body feels absolutely transformed. I haven't had any sugar in, is it 2 weeks yet?
Just about.
Right. Wednesday will be 2 weeks. I haven't had any sugar in 2 weeks. I've cut down on my carbs, been exercising a lot more. I mean, this feels great. So I'm celebrating. No, I don't know if anybody wants to have type 2 diabetes, but that's what I'm celebrating.
Well,
tonight.
hold on now. I actually really like that you shared that, because the whole point of celebrating Mondays is to be able to talk about the things that we are grateful for and looking for aspects of gratitude even within challenge.
Right. Well,
Right.
My aspect of my gratitude is I ain't never felt this good in my life before.
No.
And I'm praising God. What are we doing here on a Monday night, Kamala?
Well, we are logging on to kwministries.net/shop. And we are going to tell you all about the wonderful items that we have in there. Guys, we are here to talk to each other. We are here to share about each other's life stories. And we also want for you to utilize the opportunity to check out our store. Shameless plug.
And there's a whole bunch of good stuff in there. A Journey to Healing, a Therapeutic Approach is a really, 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 really good motivating book that you wrote.
Yes, that was what our most recent project, and of course it follows our series, A Journey to Healing, and really just talks about the ideas of love and belonging and togetherness and what it means to really love ourselves from the perspective of how God wants us to love each other.
And learning who we are. I love it. Well, we have anything else that we need to cover before because I think we're going to have a really good conversation tonight. I'm so excited
to get into it, honestly.
All right. Well, then in that case, let's introduce our guests.
All right. Coming to the stage for us this evening is Dr. Simone Ashman. She is a distinguished nurse educator, and she has over 22 years of nursing experience, guys. Listen, if you are in the medical field, nursing field, you know that you do not make it to 22 years if you don't have some, what's that? Panache, cojones, or however you want to call it. You gotta have some, you gotta have it. But she has been in the nursing field for 22 years, started off in med-surg and on cardiac services for over 10 years, and then transitioned into a role of nurse educator and then senior manager of education. And she has spent the last 10 years leading departmental operations, staff, leadership development. So she is amazing at what she does, guys. She has worked as an adjunct instructor at the Cochrane School of Nursing and was actively involved in the National League of Nursing, the accreditation for the Cochrane School of Nursing. She is currently an adjunct instructor at Hunter Bellevue College of Nursing. And one of her most notable accomplishments includes her medical surgical certification and her recent PhD attainment from Pace University. Dr. Ashman comes to us distinguished.
She said distinguished.
And we want to really just explore her life and what
well,
got
we
her
gotta
to
find
this
out what
place.
she's celebrating today first.
We do, but
I'm sorry.
I do want to say one other thing though. So she is passionate about nursing. You don't have to question that at all. But guess what? We are not just what we do. She is also very driven by a deep aspiration to make meaningful contributions. And her goal is to serve as a beacon of hope and inspiration. So that's a little bit about Dr. Ashman.
Doc, what are you celebrating? So on Monday, people go back to work and like it's hard. So we here at KW intentionally on Monday, we used to talk about that Monday's Mondaying. We're not doing that anymore. We're trying to find stuff to celebrate. So what are you celebrating on tonight?
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come here on your website and to talk about my story. So something that I'm really celebrating is the gift of sight. And I'm saying that because I recently had like eye surgery, and to be able to see all the colors, to see you both and to see Pastor Gibson, it's amazing. So I am celebrating the gift of sight.
Amen.
Awesome.
Amen.
And that green is popping.
Oh, it is
Yes,
popping.
ma'am.
Oh, it is.
Thank you.
It is.
Thank you.
Full disclosure, I have known Simone since I was a child. And I know her family, her sister, Althea is one of my best friends. And so just full disclosure. So I'm really, really looking forward to our conversation tonight. Simone, where do you want to start?
So let me start with, I'll take you on a journey and I'll show you this photo. Right? This is where the journey began, in the beautiful island of Jamaica. And right here, you see the word Mandeville. And we're going to go a little bit south. And from there, I have my humble beginning. That's my home. Right?
Good.
Can you see it?
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Right. And that's where my journey began. So I am from Manchester, in Jamaica, in a place called Rose Hill. And I think it's the coldest place on the face of the earth. But amidst the coldness, I mean, the temperature, we have the most warm people in the world. Rose Hill is an amazing place. We have lots of trees. It's a place where you can get actually so much healing. When you go there and you hear the birds, you're into nature. So when I'm burnt out from 22 years of nursing, I know what to do. I take a journey back home. I sit in the hills. I listen to the birds. I listen to the windmill, and I feel such peace. And for me, Rose Hill is home, and it will always have a place in my heart because that's where my mom taught me my first Sunday school song, Come to Sunday School, Won't You Come? And the elders who taught me Bible verses, the teachers there who set the foundation for this amazing journey that I took, and the friends and the fellowship and the cousins that we have, So for me, that's where my journey started. And to me, that's the foundation. Being at Rose Hill, the most amazing place. And I say to anyone here, if you want relaxation, when I go back to Rose Hill and come back, they tell me I look 10 years younger. So if you want to feel refreshed, if you want to have a clean mind, a clear mind, if you want some clarity, take the journey to Rose Hill. Amazing place.
Oh man, I don't know how much they're gonna pay you for that, but that was good. That was good. You talked about your mom. You talked about Sunday school.
Yes.
You talked about your family. How did that foundation, how did your mom impact your journey?
So, my mom has always been a tower of strength for me, and I boast that I am one of 13. My mom is amazing. Mom and my dad, who passed a couple years ago too, was also a key factor in setting the foundation. But my mom, I grew up in a home where all my mom knew was prayer, and we didn't have all the things we needed in life growing up. But what my mom taught me, she always said, if you have God, you have everything. And the beauty, the I remember my mom when I was about maybe 4 years old. We had nothing. It was in the 80s when the uprising of political violence was in Jamaica. There was nothing in the stores for us to get. You would have the money, but there's no food to purchase. And my mom had nothing to cook one evening. And I remember her putting on the pot on the stove, and the water would boil out and boil out and boil out. And I remember her walking away, and she went into the bushes, and I remember her kneeling, and it was me, my sister Althea, and my brother Anson. We went on her back because we thought, oh, this is a good ride for us as children, right? We were about 4, 3, and 2. And I hear my mom, and I heard my mom praying, and she's saying, God, make a way. She said, if I don't eat, make sure my children eat. And she said, and I give you thanks in the name of Jesus. And then my mom got up, right? And I saw a little bit of tears coming down. And lo and behold, within 10 minutes, my cousin came with yams, bananas, and food for us to eat. And once I saw that, that was a miracle and a faith that I always believe that no matter what happens, God is with you. And when you have a mom that believes that much in God and has faith, and not only say she has faith, but she demonstrates her faith in God. And because of that, I always look up to her. If I'm sick, I'll call mom, say a prayer, because I know once she prays, healing is coming our way. So she's a blessed woman.
So now let me prep you guys, okay? You guys are gonna have to butt in. See, because I know Simone, I know some of the stories, I know the questions to ask. So y'all gonna have to jump in whenever time y'all want to.
Well, believe me, we will.
Okay.
I do have one. I'm glad you went in the direction of mom, because the other thing I heard you, of family rather, but the other thing I heard you talk about was that the people that were really instrumental for you in those early days were teachers. What's this first standout experience that comes to mind when you think about the teachers you had growing up?
So for me, like the teachers were very impactful and instrumental in setting the foundation. One teacher that stood out to me was my kindergarten teacher, Miss Parchment. She was a lady that, because I was very small, and she always told me, you're a bright person, right? And she used to call me Miss Little One. And then in school, she would tell me, okay, here's how you write, here's how you do the things. And even though I felt sometimes like I was little, I was not looking like the other kids, other children were growing according to the growth chart, and I wasn't. And I always felt like out of place. But she always made me feel comfortable. She always tell me, you're bright, you're smart, you're gonna make it far, right? Even at kindergarten, I was probably only 4 or 5 years old. And she taught me how to write, how to read, right? So for me, that was a person that stood out. And really, up to this day, I really cherish what she did in my life.
Simone, for us, take a second and talk to teachers, even teachers who have kindergarten students, and talk to them about how important it is how they treat children, how they talk to children, how they deal with children.
Right. That's a very good point, because what we have to understand that children are like sponge at 5 years old, kindergarten. So they're gonna absorb everything that you pour into them. So if you pour good, they'll succeed. If you put negativity, it's gonna impact them as well. So even at a young age, you have to remember that they are developing. So you want to say the right things, you want to do the right things, and understand that each child is different, and understand that each child learns differently. Because sometimes the teacher will tell us, oh, you're not smart, right? It's not that you're not smart. Maybe your learning style is different. Maybe a child learns better reading. Maybe a child learns better hands-on experience. Maybe you have to demonstrate it to them first before, so that the child can see. But I think at kindergarten or the younger age, you have the chance to make the greatest impact on the child, because that's when the child is being molded, right? You're
Mm.
molding that child to become like an adult, right? And if you mold them correctly, they'll become like they'll just blossom and flourish when they become adults.
That I think that was so powerful and well said. I have one more question, and then we can. You mentioned that you were one of 13. What was that like? What was that like? Having so many siblings.
It has its advantages and its disadvantages, right? So when you're one of 13, you kind of have the older siblings that helps you with reading. You're trying to be like them because they're older. And then you have the disadvantage when they think we, the younger ones, get away with things they never did. There's always like a rivalry, like, okay, we couldn't do that when we were your age. So, in that sense, that's kind of a disadvantage. But I mean, having 13 of us with the age span is so wide, it helps
Mhm.
you because then the older ones have knowledge that they can impart onto you. So, even sometimes people say, oh, you're ahead of your time. And maybe that's true because of an older brother or an older sister
Mhm.
that has already experienced that and is able to share that knowledge with you. So you know that, okay, I won't make that mistake because someone guided
Mm.
me in the right path.
I like that. I like that.
Now, one question, Dr. Ashman.
Yeah.
We talked about mom, we talked about other families, but you also talked about your dad being a critical part of the
Hmm.
foundation that you built. And being a girl dad myself,
Mhm.
how how what was the fundamental thing that your dad instilled in you
Hmm.
and instilled in the children, aside from your mom's faith?
Yeah.
What was the other piece from the dad piece?
Hmm.
So my dad, I love him so much. He always, as a little child growing up, he says to me, you, God sent you to test my faith. That was always my dad's stuff, right? And I always say, what faith do you have, dad, that I am testing? But he always says that to me. And for me, like my dad always, he is very strict. He believes in principles, right? He believes that you should follow the path that leads to success. So my dad will tell me every day it's important for you to read. And my dad would always tell me, don't waste time doing things that's not necessary. Focus on what's important. And my dad always tells me that, listen, you don't always have to be around companies, meaning
Yes.
you have to learn to find your own independence too. And that when you find yourself, then you're able to influence others. Don't be influenced by a company, but you be the leader that can influence others.
Mm.
So you get kind of this foundation of faith from
Hmm.
mom, this foundation of discipline, independence from dad, this foundation of support from the kindergarten teachers,
Support from
how
siblings.
support from siblings, sometimes rivalry.
Yes.
And she said cousins. Okay, let me explain that. A host of cousins. Do
Yes.
you want to talk? You want to say a little piece about that before we go on, Simone?
Yes. So I have a
You
host
can't
like
count them. Don't try.
Dr.
Don't try to put a
Taylor
number
says,
on it.
I won't count them, but host a whole community. And when it says it takes the community to raise, it takes a village to raise someone, I can say that it took my cousins, my aunt, everyone to raise us or to raise me to where I am today. And my cousins, they are amazing. They like I said, they're older. Some of them are older, some of them are younger, and keep you in check. And they provoke you sometimes, that teaches you tolerance, right?
Yeah.
They push you to the limit to say that there's potential in you. Why don't you go ahead? And
Mhm.
in Rose Hill, the beauty is we were all related. So everybody, everyone in Rose Hill, basically, I'm related. We're cousins, we're aunts, we're uncles, or mom and dad.
So, and you talked about it teaches you to interpersonal skills, having so many family members with so many different personalities, with so many different, and I guess we'll talk about how that affect. Well, as the story go on, we'll bring that up again and ask how these different things played a role. Are you ready to leave the island? Or you had enough the cool air of Manchester? You ready to leave the island?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I think I was leading into what you just said. I was curious about those foundational childhood experiences and people and everybody that was around you. Like, what stands out to you from your adolescent years before you transitioned, before you did some other things, before you got to the place where you are now?
So in my adolescent years, so like the theorist talks about identity crisis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I struggled a little bit. So I wasn't this person that followed the the narrow pathway. I am always curious.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave people label it as trouble. So I would be in class, I would become bored because they would give me like exams, or they would be covering topics I'm not interested in. For
Mm-hmm.
example, when they had books and the books were boring, I would get creative in my mind, like, what if the story went this way? So when the teacher would say, Simone, can you tell me what the passage says? I was like, huh? Right? And a lot of time I found myself daydreaming in
Mm-hmm.
school because at some point I was bored. And as a result of that, like, my parents spent a lot of time with parents, parent teachers association. My mom was and my dad was there a lot because I gave um, a lot of trouble, as they would label it, because I figure there has to be a better way. Plus, within me, I think naturally there was a leader that wants to lead. Like, okay, why don't you put me in front of the class? If I understand this concept in math, why can't you put me at the board so I can explain it to the students? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I would take the initiative, go to the then it was Blackboard, went to the blackboard, start teaching the student. The teacher comes in, catches me at the board, and I run to my seat, right? And for years upon years,
Don't laugh.
Mm-hmm.
that was me.
Yeah.
That was me. And if you ask anyone, how would you describe the teenage Simone, they would describe me as one that's troubled, not knowing the right direction, and going off into her own thoughts and daydream.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was as a teenager.
I feel
But
like
no,
retrospectively, though, when you
right.
look
That's what
back
I'm
at
about
that
to ask.
experience, this
Yeah.
it probably had some benefit to
Well,
later on. Is that
I
where
mean,
you were going?
let's put that in form of a question though. Now look back. You, yes, that's what if somebody was looking on would
Yeah.
say. But you now look back and label that Simone for us, and then talk to that child.
Right. So looking back, I would say to that teenager Simone, relax, take it easy, right? And express yourself in a more professional manner, right? Take the thoughts that you have to your teacher, try to find some solutions. Um, make it a collaborative effort with the teacher so that you can talk over what's wrong, tell them what you thought the lesson should look like. Why are you behaving the way you do? So the teenager Simone, I would look back and say, just relax and take it easy and express yourself in an appropriate manner.
Yeah.
I
Now,
love
now,
that.
Dr. Ashman, do you think the teenage Simone would listen to the noun Simone?
Uh, she wouldn't want to hear it. She wouldn't want to hear it. She would be like, the teenage Simone would be like, wow, how did you get here?
but hey, brother Glenn, good to see you tonight, sir. But hey, but yes, and true. But there's so many Simones out there who people have labeled as bad, who people have labeled as trouble, and they didn't get a chance. They don't have this. They don't have the support system that you did. They don't have the, and so talk to some of them, and what would you say to them? You relax and express yourself better. But what else would you say? What else would you say to them?
I would say like the teenage years can be difficult. It can be challenging because you're trying to find your own identity, right?
Yeah.
And then you have so many different factors. Even now in our society, we have the social media, we have friends, we have so many things that's impacting our teenagers. But I would say to them that look to those with experience to help guide you. Talk to your peers, talk to your parents, talk to a counselor, talk to your teachers, talk to anybody that can help you through these difficult years and will provide sound foundation for you. Because sometimes we think as teenagers that, oh, I know it all, because that's what I thought. I know it all. I can handle this. I don't need to hear your opinion. But now that I'm at this stage, I realize that what would have worked better is if I had listened more to the teachers, to my parents, to my brothers, to my cousins, to my sisters, then some of the mistakes that I made in life, I wouldn't have. And it's better to actually learn from knowledge hand down than to experience some of the things, because some of the things you will live with the wages of sin, so to speak.
Can't get it back.
Like you can't get rid of it. So you've done something, you will have to face the consequences, even though you may have changed your behavior, but some of those things come with consequence.
Yeah.
How do you? And I'm just stay right here for a quick second, Kamala. You spoke to the Simones. Now talk to the teachers. Talk to the adults that are interacting with students who, as you would have known from firsthand, they were just more curious. The stuff was just boring. They were just exploring, looking at stuff. Talk to those teachers. How do they reach out to those students?
So one key thing in being first of all, I commend teachers because it's not an easy role, right?
It ain't in
And I
you.
So
don't
true.
think they get as much respect as they deserve. And
Agreed.
teachers, I really commend you. So something that I would say to teachers that you're doing a great job, and sometimes the teaching strategies do not meet the learner's need. So what you have to do is to engage the learner,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because things have changed. And also, one thing I would say to teachers, you have to keep abreast of what's new.
Yeah.
So you can teach what was taught 20 years ago in today's world
In the same
unless
way.
you're using the latest evidence base to say,
Right.
okay, here's why we're doing what we're doing, right? Because in learning, there was a class that I took and we did humor. How do we use humor in the classroom to engage students? How do you use rap to teach a math concept? So we have to be creative. We have to be innovative as teachers. So, and I'm saying we because as an educator, that's what we do. You have to be able to engage the learners in different styles, right? So if you have a group of children who they rap, they have their headphones on all the time, then listen, let's rap this math concept,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're able to rap, and then you build the concepts in it. Maybe it's through poetry, maybe it's through stories. Different styles will help the learner to attain the information that they need to.
This is good stuff.
This is great.
Well, listen, it's 8:30. We haven't left the island yet, okay?
Right.
Okay.
So I guess my question comes in here where, so you have this experience through your teenage years. How does this now translate into the starting of a of
Well, she
education training
migrates.
for
Well, I want to
nurses?
hear about migration.
Right. So I migrated to Jamaica in 1989. So I came and I completed high school here. And boy, was it a
New York.
cultural shock into New York. Was it a cultural shock? First of all, I came in the heart of winter, and those days we used to have, I mean, 4 feet of snow, right? And coming from a warm climate, and my first day here, I was like, nope, I'm going back home.
Yep.
But from then, and I went to high school, and in high school, like I had to adjust a little bit because in Jamaica, I think then a lot of the knowledge came through memorization. And then in the US, I started to say, okay, you have to now do more application of the knowledge, right? So when we got tests, we would have to like ANP, anatomy and physiology, you label things, right? How does this work? System works with the other system.
Mhm.
And then I graduated from high school, but I always wanted to be a nurse. Always wanted to be a nurse ever since I was 9 years old. And my sister will share a story with you how she had a bruise on her arm, and they told me the dirt would help heal the wound. And I wrapped it in dirt, not knowing that's a big source of infection, right?
Oh
So
my God.
always wanted to be a nurse. So once I left high school, I knew where I wanted to go. I wanted to go to nursing school and nothing else. So when I graduated from high school, I applied to Lehman School of Nursing and I got accepted. And when I got accepted, I took the prerequisite from there, went straight into the nursing program. And I struggled a little bit in the nursing program because if you know nursing program, it's not easy, right?
Yeah.
But the support that was provided helped me, to succeed. And then I finished nursing school, took the nursing boards, passed the exam, started working as a med search nurse. And I worked a med search nurse for like 5 years. And then I
All
became
right, hold on, Simone. Hold on. You're gone
yes,
way too far. Let's go back to school
yes.
and tell us some of the challenges and how you overcame them and what you used from. Here's where I think this would come in: having so many different cousins with so many different personalities. And once you started um, uh, becoming a part of the New York culture and the New York school system, how did you navigate all of that?
So the high school period, it wasn't for me initially. It was a cultural shock because now you're into a large classroom. You come from a small school with like maybe 10 students in a classroom. I'm into a classroom with 25 students, 30 students. And back home, I was in one classroom with one teacher all day that taught you every course. And now I had to navigate my way through this whole big building with different teachers, meeting different students of different background and different culture. So for me, that was difficult. What helped me was I had some friends from church that attended school with me. So most of my high school years, the friends I have are actually people from the church. And
Hmm.
that's how I felt comfortable. And that's also helped me to adjust to the new culture.
What advice would you give to somebody that's adjusting, that's coming into this culture?
You know what? It depends on the individual when they come. And just remember that I think America is the greatest country on earth because there are so many resources that's
Mm.
available. They have counselors. If you're struggling, if you're new to the system, there are counselors. There are programs set up that you can always tap into. Now you have access to peer reviews, you have
Hmm.
access to like libraries at your fingertip. You no
Hmm.
longer have to walk miles and miles,
In the
right?
cold.
In the cold, you have after school programs, you have after school activities. There's so much that you can use here to help you adjust to the system.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that your nursing school experience um, had kind of emotional
Mm-hmm.
roller coaster experience as well. And I know that there are, several people that are enrolled in nursing programs that question, am I going to get through this? Is this the thing for me? What would you say to those
Mm-hmm.
individuals who are going through those kind of feelings right now, about
Struggling.
how they can accomplish the goal that they've set for themselves?
So the first thing I always say, you have to have a passion for nursing.
Mm.
Because it's not all glamour. It's not, oh, a patient lives and go home and you celebrate. You're going to have moments when you've done so much for them and they
Mm-hmm.
still transition to eternal care. So you have to understand that, like nursing, you need the passion so that when you have your difficult days, you
Yeah.
can look within yourself and say, here's why I do what I do. So if you're in nursing school can be done and you can get to the end. You have to be dedicated, you have to be patient, you
Mm-hmm.
have to take time for yourself and enjoy and live in the moment. And also, you have to be resilient because nursing school, we know the exams aren't easy. I
Mm-hmm.
myself, I teach nursing students. So I know that having an exam and you have 3, 4 exams per day, what you want to do is to take the exams one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
When you do a pharmacology exam, look at the classification of drugs and how they work with each system. That will help you. And just remember, if you dedicate time to the work, it can be done. Also, reach out to experienced nurses.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe look for a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
look for opportunities in a hospital. Maybe during your nursing career, you can also look at being a PCA, one who cares, like patient care associate, like a
Mm-hmm.
nursing attendant, one who assists the nurse. So therefore, that will give you the experience and
Can
give you an
learn.
understanding also of how it works.
Yeah, yeah. We had a question that came in, asking specifically, what support system or systems did you utilize to succeed in nursing school?
Yeah. So in nursing school, like I said, I met a lot of challenges. And what
Mm-hmm.
I did, I started hanging out with the smarter students, the one who had the aha moment. And I would sit with them after school. I would call them, can you explain this question to me? Also, what I did was, funny enough, my dean of the School of Nursing is from Rosehill, Dr. Mead Bennett. So she was from Rosie, but she was the toughest person. Like she never
Wow.
gave me like, you wouldn't say like gave me a leeway. She would say, okay, here are the resources. Come to me. And she would set me up with tutors, right? She
Mm-hmm.
set me up with tutors and she herself would meet with me and say, okay, come. What do you think the answer is for this question? And when I would tell her my rationale, she would tell me why this one doesn't make sense and why this one works. So
Mm-hmm.
I use those with knowledge and those who had the experience and teachers too that were teaching me how to interpret lab values, how to connect the lab values with the patient diagnosis. And
Yeah.
that's how I made it through.
Doc,
Hi, Dr. Love. Sorry.
how did what allowed you to be so open to one going, you know what, I'm just going to align myself with this person who knows a little bit more than me, I'm going to seek out resources over here? I'm really curious about that because I imagine that there's some people who are like, I don't want to put myself out there, right? Like I don't want anybody to know that I'm struggling or that I'm not
Right.
keeping up. Like what allowed you to make those the kind of decisions?
The first thing, you have to accept that there is a weakness, right? You have to accept that I need help. And there's
Mm-hmm.
no shame in this game because
Mm-hmm.
my end goal was I want to be a nurse no matter what.
Yeah.
And I realized that if I didn't reach out for the help, then guess what? I would not have made it. So think about it. If you're in a situation, for example, if you're drowning and you're saying, oh, I'm not going to say anything, I'm just going to remain quiet, then guess what? You're going to
You
be
went
overpowered
drone.
by the water. So accept the fact that you need help and don't be afraid to disclose, because in nursing, you're going to have to do that when you become a licensed nurse. You're going to have to say, doctor, I am sorry, I don't know how to do this procedure.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please explain? Or,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, pharmacy, I don't understand this drug. How does it work? Because in healthcare, it's very important that you do the right thing, and one little mistake can cost a patient's life. So in
Mm-hmm.
nursing, you have to be open to help, right? And
Mm-hmm.
nursing is a teamwork, it's collaboration. So you might as well get into that phase early on into your studies.
Yeah.
I
So,
love that. Go ahead.
so,
Go
so,
ahead.
Dr. Ashman, we talked about through nursing, there's a lot of loss.
Mhm.
You have a lot more gains and rewards, but how do you navigate those significant losses that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you connect with patients and patients' families? And then how not only transitioning with the families, how do you help staff deal with that grief and that loss? And I'll use an example that I watched as my mother-in-law passed, and as my wife had the meltdown at the hospital. I saw nurses crying
Right.
as they're navigating the loss and watching her go through her loss. How did you get through the years of going through that as you went through, and then how have you been able to transition that not only to your students but other to staff as well?
So thank you for that question. So, like I said, nursing has to have a passion, and it's not always like you said, you do all you can, but at some point the person will transition. So during that time, it's very difficult and overwhelming, especially if the nurse is new and young. The nurse just
Mm-hmm.
out of college, they come on the unit, it's their first patient assignment, and the patient transition. This nurse, first of all, is fearful. This nurse is overwhelmed. So what we do in the hospital is we have what's called lavender therapy. So we come around, we reach out to pastoral care, we reach out to wellness centers, and also we take the assignment from the patient, from the nurse, send the nurse off to a break, and then we cover for them.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we follow them on a weekly basis. It's not just, okay, this situation happened, and we have what we call debrief. So tell us, what did you feel during that
Mm-hmm.
situation? Right? So we get a sense of what's going on with them. And
Mm-hmm.
based on what the feedback is, then that dictates the intervention. It may be, okay, maybe they need a day off.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they need to get patients the next time that are we know are stable, so that
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to deal with the death. Because in nursing, the first year of nursing is so crucial, because we know nurses quit, and these are the things why they quit. Someone transition and they become so overwhelmed that they're like, I'm done, I'm out of here, right? But what
Mm-hmm.
I find in nursing is you support the individual, put in the right intervention. And hospitals now, healthcare, we have so many things in place to help the nurses. We have
Mm-hmm.
aromatherapy, we have massages, we have gyms that they could go and work out. They have like counselors one-on-one that they could speak to,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have they use the red dots, yellow dots, blue and green. If they feel overwhelmed from the situation and they put up a red dot, they don't even have to speak. We'll go over and we'll say, what's going on? Let's take your patient, take a break.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we follow that individual over a period of time, making sure that healing takes place. For example, like COVID, COVID has impacted nurses so much that if you listen to some stories, the other day I was teaching how to put on PPE, personal protective gear, equipment, where how to put on a gown appropriately, how to put on a gloves. And a nurse ran out of the class
Mm-hmm.
and she said, Dr. Ashman, can I say something to you? She said, I'm having flashback. And I
Mm-hmm.
said to her, it's okay. You don't have to be in the class, right? She said, I said, take a moment. And I said, wait until I'm finished with the class and then you can come back. So
Mm-hmm.
the, it's something that lingers with nursing. It's not something that we get over, but we try to, you know, do the therapy that's necessary. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes nurses still burn out. Still
Mhm.
burn out from all the stress because in nursing, you bear a lot. You carry the
Mhm.
patient, the family members, and like Pastor Gibson says, it's true. A patient dies and you cry too because you
Mhm.
get attached to the patient. And when you look, you have done so many things, and things
Yeah.
happen.
How did
How
you? Sorry.
I was gonna say you started out of nursing school in med surge, which is a pretty stressful environment. How did you get
That's
through
what.
that first year?
Yeah.
So with my first year, it was difficult because I started working in orthopedic and
Mm-hmm.
they were doing knee surgeries. And if anyone knows, one of the major complications of knee surgery is blood clots from the immobility, the manipulation that goes on. And we would have patients stand up, ready to go home, and boom, they collapse and they die from a pulmonary embolism, right?
Mm-hmm.
A clot that goes to the lungs. So my first year was like that, and I was like, no, I have to leave.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
So I couldn't stay in that unit. And so I moved. That's when I moved into cardiac,
Mm-hmm.
thinking, okay, it's better. But then in cardiac, the same thing happened. We were doing more CPRs than ever.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, okay, where do I find my safe net? And then I said, maybe I should journey into education
Mm,
to teach what nursing is. But it's can be difficult, but it's rewarding also.
yeah.
Did that help? Did that answer you, Shelly-Ann? She's a nurse educator, and she made her decision because she didn't like seeing people suffer.
Yes.
I really appreciate your answer on that, Simone, because I think sometimes they start in an era and they feel like I can't move or I
Right.
can't be flexible. But what I'm hearing you say is that I started in this experience. I wanted to try something different. And even with that, I also noticed there was an era I could flourish in even more.
And she said earlier, you have to have a passion for nursing.
Yeah.
And so, in having a passion for nursing, you have to have a passion in the area
Hmm.
that's nursing. So, at 9 years old, you wanted to become a nurse.
Mhm.
Today, you have a PhD in nursing. As you were going through your 22 years, when did you decide I want to go further? What caused that? What instigated that? And how did you do that?
So I wanted to be a midwife after all that dying, that CPR. I said, you know what? Most moms deliver safely, they go home, happy stories. So I wanted to be a midwife and I applied to Columbia University and they told me their program is closed. I was like, okay, so what do I do next? And I was all in my annual evaluation, I'm always told that you are a very good teacher. You instruct very well.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, let me pursue nursing education. So I went to Columbia and I pursued a master's degree in nursing education. And with the master's degree, I started teaching nurses. So I'm not really at the bedside, but nurses who come to the organization, I'm the one that instruct them on the policies and the
Nice.
procedures.
Mhm.
Or
Hmm.
if there's an error, I'm the one that guide them and show them the corrections. So that's with the masters. So I became, like I said, the curious me.
Hmm.
Like I always want, oh, what's new? What's next? So I was looking for something next. So I did a medical mission in Jamaica
Hmm.
and I saw how people were so sick. And I look at the policies that were driving the healthcare and I'm like, I need to make a change. So I'm going to do a PhD in public health, global
Hmm.
health. When I looked at the curriculum, I said, Lord, no, not me. Too much. I said, no. I said, not me, God, not me. And but every day I would go to work, like when the Lord has something for you.
Yes.
And it's like burning. I'm like, yes, but no.
Fire shut up in your
PhD, no.
bones, Jeremiah
I
calls it.
said, nope, nope. And every day I keep pushing it off. And one day I was in the office and I said, you know what? I want to do a PhD program. And all of a sudden, across my screen came Pace University is having a new PhD program. And I said, Lord, not me, not me. And then I reached out to the director, and the director said, Simone, this is Dr. Fredrickson. I said, oh my God, she taught me in undergrad.
Oh,
And
wow.
she said, you have
Wow.
to come to the program. And I said, sure. And I said, what would it take? And she said, I'll provide you with all the information. We got off the phone, and I was praying to God, please let this lady not call me back before I get out of this. So the day she told me she was coming, I prayed so hard. And it rained and it rained and it rained. And I'm like, this lady's not going to come. And then at 10 o'clock in the morning,
Here she
the
came through
security
the
called me
wind.
to say someone is in the lobby to see me. And there was a lady with her umbrella, her jacket. And she said, Simone, you're coming to the PhD program. And I said, okay. And she told me what the requirements were. And I saw that I met the criteria. So I applied and I got in. But I was afraid to fail. So I
Mhm.
told no one I was in the program. I didn't share with my family. The only person knew were those who I work with, because of course I needed a day off to go to school and I had to disclose that. But no one knew. So in 2017, I started the journey. Then 2018, 2019, and then COVID hit, and it took us down a road where I figure, oh my God, how am I going to bounce back? Because here's it, I'm giving my all at work. Caring for patients was overwhelming, and I have to do my schoolwork. So I pushed, and I pressed. And then I think 2022, my dad actually passed, and I said, you know what? I don't think I can push forward. And then I had a period of doing no schoolwork because I couldn't find the courage and I couldn't find the strength. Because I wanted my dad to see me walk across that stage with that degree in my hand, and it didn't happen. So the person that chaired my committee knows who I am. She knows if she sends me an assignment, I would respond right away. And she reached out to me and she said, what's going on? So I told her what had happened, and she said, okay, take time for yourself, heal. When you feel better, start writing again. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to show her who I am. I'm gonna show her watch in 1 week. And in 1 week I bounced back. Somehow I bounced back. And I started writing and she wrote me back, you're healed already. And I said, yes, and I'm ready. So I started writing and writing and writing. So I was hoping to graduate like within 3 years. And then it's like I had to turn to prayer and fasting because there were so many barriers, so many hurdles. And as soon as I jumped over one, a higher hurdle came. And as soon as I jumped over another barrier, another came. And I was bounced around in the program. And I said, Lord, help me. Give me the individuals who will help me through this program. So after praying, they buddied me with the most amazing chairperson, and she guided me. So after the end, after your schoolwork, you have to do nursing research. So then the institution that I was working with was excited. We want your program. We want you to come and do your research here. We are ready for you. So I filled out the paperwork, submitted the application to get permission to perform the research, and they turned me down. They said, you can't look at the population that you want to, and this is too much. So I went back to my chair and she said, I don't know how you're going to get this research done. So I called on my friends again and I said, we're going to do 7 days of prayer and fasting
Yes.
because something has to break.
Yes.
So we began, and oh my God, we had the most wonderful prayer service. Every night at 7 o'clock, we would come together, we would pray for hours and hours, seeking God. And then About a week later, my chair calls me and she says, "You're going to another institution." I said, "Where?" And she sent me to Memorial Sloan Kettering. And I said, "What? Cancer? I don't even like the word. And you're sending me to that institution? I don't know about that." But anyway, I mustered it up and I went. And when I went, I met this lady that says to me, "Come, I'm going to mentor you."
Yes.
And she said, "I'm going to write for grants to help you." So she wrote, because she's a PhD prepared, Dr. Mazala, and she wrote for grants to help mentor me. So she's mentoring me. And I'm doing my research, doing my research. And all of a sudden, all the barriers start falling down. All the barriers, and life seems so much easier. First of all, I had so many aha moments. Now I understand my research. Now I'm speaking like a scholarly student. And I'm like, you know what? This is God. So when I was ready, I kept writing, and my chair says, "Keep writing, keep writing, keep writing." And I'm like, how much more am I going to write? How many more times must I write? And finally, I said, you know what? Let me see what she wants. So I kept writing. And I reached out to someone from Rose Hill, Dr. Love. And Dr. Love is a statistician. And I said, "Dr. Love," I didn't even know she was a statistician until one of my classmates needed a third person. And she asked me, "Do you know of anyone?" And I said, "Sure." And I reached out to Dr. Love, and she says to me, "Yeah, I have a background in statis. She's a statistician." I said, "What?" And I'm here struggling. "I need your help." And she sent me email, she sent me text, she broke down everything for me. And all of a sudden, I have a free statistician.
Oh
Thanks
boy.
be to God.
Testify.
Yes, and I
Testify.
have a mentor who now is setting me up with all the right people. And remember now, I'm at MSK, a premier cancer center. And here is it, a little girl from Rosen walks in, gets on the podium in front of over maybe 600 doctors, anesthesiologists, great leaders, presenting my research. And when I was done, I was like, wow. When I presented my research, they could not believe that, wow, this is coming from me, because at first it wasn't easy. And then when I sent back to my committee chair that I present at MSK, she said, "Send me your work." And when she told me, "You're going to defend," I emailed her back with nothing, a blank email. And she said, "Huh?" And I said, "Don't worry. The most defining moments of our lives finds us without words."
Hey!
And I said to her,
Hey!
Hold on.
Hey! Hey!
That one deserves a
Hashtag,
hashtag.
where is it?
I said, "It finds us without words." But in truth, I was so shocked that
I messed up the clip. And kids
I
won't
was
kill
so
me.
shocked that I was at the end, that I couldn't believe. I didn't want to tell her, you know what? I'm surprised that I'm at the end. And it was such an amazing feeling to get to the end, to say, here is a struggle. And the day when I walked across the stage and I heard my name and I heard my sons screaming in the back, because you know what? I did this too for them to see that as a woman, a Black woman, right, who had from a humble beginning, can make this happen. You can do it. And I will say to anyone, anything is possible. Anything is possible. If you are resilient, if you dedicate time, if you put yourself out there, then it can happen. Because for me, I wanted self actualization.
All right,
I
Master.
wanted to go to my fullest potential. And it wouldn't be possible unless I have that PhD, the highest degree in nursing.
Yeah.
Thanks be to God and for all the support that I received.
I don't even know how to say. The most defining moments of our lives usually have no words.
Have mercy.
Oh, that's kind of probably why I don't have any words to end this.
That was the most defining moment of this show.
Oh,
Yes.
oh man, Dr. Ashman. Well, first, I know you want to put a plug in there for Shelly Ann before you move on.
Listen to Dr. Ashman, Dr. Love, who helped us all to get to where we are. Shout out, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
I know you wanted to say that. Thank you so much for sharing your most amazing story. You know, resilience,
Yes.
to keep going, because she could have quit several times.
Yeah.
She could have quit as a child
Mm-hmm.
when she was told you're bad, because she didn't make that up in her head. Somebody told her that.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? That could have been her quitting point.
Mm-hmm.
But that theme of resilience just kept going throughout.
Agreed.
But then she also talked about, and Dr. Love actually highlighted that in a comment, is prayer and fasting.
Yeah.
Her faith, and Jimmy, this goes back to what we were talking about 2 weeks ago with the election. Her faith it's not just something she talked about. It informed her as she worked on her PhD. Here, I'm stuck, but I have faith in God. I'm going to practice the spiritual disciplines, and that's what's going to help me. But then she reached out to people.
Yep.
That comes out in all the stories. The need for people, the need to reach out, the need to rely on, the need to be there. We're out of time, Doc, but I know you do some really good work in Rose Hill.
Yes.
And so tell us, and you didn't just start this, for years upon years, you and your family have been giving back. Share with us real quick the importance of giving back.
So it's important to give back, because once you're full, you have to pour out into others, because there's no more you can take in if you don't empty that vessel. And that's why it's important to give. And we've done medical mission in Roseville, across Jamaica. We give books to students. We support children's education. We do have a foundation a scholarship called the Rights Foundation, that we give to children back home who are pursuing high school degrees or high school diplomas.
The Rights Foundation, if somebody wanted to give to it, how would they give to it?
So what we do, actually, it's the Right Foundation is for me, my husband, and the boys, because I am teaching them how to give. So that is something that we set up over the
For
years.
you all. Wow. Listen, the most defining moments of our lives usually have no words. And I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't have any words tonight except to say thank you so much for sharing your story. This was inspiring. I knew it was going to be inspiring. I knew it was going to be funny. I knew it was going to be emotional. It had everything in there for a good story. Our producer is going to murder me because I screamed through all her clips, but she'll be able to find something in there. Simone, thank you very, very, very much. To our listeners, watchers, thank you so very much for hanging out with us tonight. I know you were. I was going to say, I hope you were inspired. I know you were inspired. Be resilient. Keep trying. Don't give up. Jimmy, what do you got to say?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Dr. Ashman, you've inspired me to finish completing my application for my DMin. So I started a few weeks ago, and there's some things that I still need to get done. So while I was here, I went off and sent off a couple of emails to have folks do the recommendation letters, and then I still got to do my statement of purpose. But you've given me inspiration to say that, in the words of Jim Valvano, don't ever give up. And, so I thank you. I thank you that delays are not denials, and that the blessings continue through your faith, that you walk the faith walk. And so it's encouraging to see, as you gleaned that from your mother and that early experience.
Yes.
And so, there are things in our early experiences that we look back. I had a high school football coach that used to tell us, if you quit out here in the midst of running 100-yard wind sprints after 3 hours worth of practice, he would say, if you quit out here, you would quit in life. And
Yep.
so it was almost a faith thing that we were doing through running through 100-yard wind sprints. And so I applaud you. I thank you. And I praise God for the journey that God has brought you through.
Kamala's going to say something. Before she does, I have to ask this because Jimmy did it. Jimmy triggered me, okay? Your prayer and fasting session, how was that informed by your mother going out in the bushes, kneeling down with the three of you on her back, praying, God, if I don't eat, these kids have to eat. Thank you in the name of Jesus. And 10 minutes later, you saw miracles. How did that inform that? How?
Well, you know what? Like I said, my mom is an action of faith, right? So she believes and then it comes forth. And that's my belief that if I pray, of course it's going to happen. And I knew it would because the God that we serve will show up. And like the bishop says, delay doesn't mean deny, right? And sometimes you may have to take one step back, but then when he leaps you forward, sometimes he catches you unaware and he pushes you further, right? So I knew, okay, today wasn't a good day, Lord. I'll watch for you again.
Wait, you heard it? Wait, she said,
And,
I was
and
even making noise through that etiquette. You got that one. Today wasn't a good day, but Lord, I'll watch for you.
No. You missed the last part.
Yeah.
Again.
Yes.
and he will show up.
Yes.
Oh, man. Oh.
Doc, thank you so much for the work that you are doing. You said it first. You have to have passion for what you do, and your passion for what you do has shone through all of our conversation. And I am so glad that the people that you work with get to work with
Yes. Again, Doc, thank you. You have the last word, Simone.
Say thank you so much for this opportunity to be on your network. And if anyone out there that's listening, just remember you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, and take that first step. Take that first step in whatever goal you want to reach and ask for direction, and God will line the people up that needs to be there because he's an awesome God. And he says he will never leave us nor forsake us. And like you said in your program earlier, if you want to experience love, experience God, because God is love and he will protect you all the way through.
Yo, if it's Monday night, you're live
with KW
and Jay.
Peace. Don't